I am greatly honored to host you this morning as we jointly work to advance relations between Kenya and the brotherly and sisterly nations that you ably represent. Thank you for honoring my invitation. On behalf of the government, the people of the Republic of Kenya, and on my own behalf, I take this opportunity to assure you of my unwavering commitment to work closely with each and every one of you as we build a more interconnected and prosperous Africa. And ladies and gentlemen, I specifically told the President I was coming here to have this gathering with you, and he conveys his best wishes to all of you. As you are aware, Kenya and fellow African countries enjoy long-standing fraternal relations founded on historical linkages, special bonds of friendships, shared values, and common aspirations for socio-economic prosperity. These ties have continued to strengthen over the years through enhanced economic, cultural, education, and diplomatic changes. Over the last 1 year of the government of Kenya, we have facilitated 25 outbound and 39 inbound official visits at head of state level within Africa. The ministry concluded 48 memoranda of understanding with African countries, and they are at various stages of implementation. Evidently, Africa forms the core of Kenya's foreign policy. Our people strongly believe in mutual coexistence, which is best advanced and enhanced through the warm relations cultivated across our continent. We hope that this year, 2024, we shall see even more engagements to build more on our similarities and common strengths. I therefore call upon each one of you to support me, to support the government of Kenya in this endeavor. Our borders should be the starting point of our collective socio-economic development and not edges of self-defense. It is in this context that His Excellency President Ruto announced on 12th December 2023 the removal of visa requirements to all countries effective from 1st January 2024. This announcement underscores Kenya's commitment to working with other African countries to improve trade and build a stronger and more united continent. The removal of visa requirements reaffirms the government of Kenya's commitment to fostering a robust, creative, and engaging foreign policy to amplify partnership with African countries in particular and the rest of the world. We are aware that the implementation of the visa-free regime has its teething challenges, but I want to assure you, Your Excellencies, that we are aware of these concerns, which we continue to address, and we shall soon have a flawless regime. I am also aware that the African diplomatic missions and the entire diplomatic corps in Nairobi are facing a number of challenges on their privileges and immunities. I'm happy to note that we will soon organize a briefing session for the diplomatic corps to address some of those concerns. Your Excellencies, trade and investment remains one of the strongest pillars of our bilateral relations anchored within the African Union mechanisms and framework, including the free movement of persons, protocol, and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The African continent remains a priority trading platform for us all, as demonstrated by the AfCFTA, with 98% of our countries having already ratified and are on course to implement. Kenya, one of the pilot countries in the implementation of the AfCFTA, exported its first goods of locally made car batteries and tea to Ghana in October 2022. We recognize the need to collaborate in mapping beneficial strands in the economic and trade engagements between our countries towards the full realization of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area as the apex of regional integration. This is guided by the belief that it is possible to foster increased volumes of trade among African countries by jointly working to eliminate barriers emanating from closed borders, strict visa requirements, and closed airspace to facilitate the free movement of persons and goods to elevate our trade and economic growth. Your Excellencies, I am happy to note that under the framework of the African Union, Kenya was honored to host, on behalf of the African Union, the 5th mid-year coordination meeting, that is in July 2023, and the inaugural Africa Climate Summit in September 2023. I wish to extend my appreciation to each and every one of you for the support you accorded us that made the two conferences successful and with good outcomes for our region. Climate change threatens the lives and livelihoods of over 100 million people in extreme poverty in our continent. Global warming has contributed immensely to the reduction of water, reduction in water essential for agricultural production, causing food insecurity, poverty, and population displacement. In Kenya alone, more than 3 million people live with food insecurity, and many have been displaced. Climate change is a global problem requiring global solutions, but Africa is enduring the most of this crisis. The inaugural Africa Climate Summit of 2023 held in Nairobi served as a basis for Africa's common position in the global climate change process to COP28 and beyond. Subsequently, both the Nairobi Declaration of 2023 and COP28 laid ground for a swift, just, and equitable transition underpinned by deep emissions cut and scaled-up climate finance. It is high time that we as Africa take bold steps and take lead in actions that are geared to mitigating rising impact of climate change by taking personal initiatives to plant trees and increase tree cover, purposefully push for sufficient allocation of our national budgets to the kitty for management and prevention of disasters that arise from climate change. As we are aware, the government of Kenya is committed to planting trees, more than 15 billion trees by 2032. I salute you, the African Diplomatic Corps, who participated on the National Tree Planting Day on 13th November 2023. We have an obligation to safeguard our continent for our future generation, and the time to do so is now. The evolving global peace and security problems have compounded the challenges of our time in Africa. Statistically, as of 2023, over 37 million people had been forcefully displaced in Africa. 6 countries accounted for 64% of the forced displacements on the continent, and as at September 2023, 121 million people are facing severe acute food security in selected countries in Africa. In the period between February 2019 and February 2024, conflict fatalities from selected African countries reached 208,000. 4 of the top 10 countries facing severe acute food insecurity are in the Horn of Africa. The statistics in West and Central Africa are also daunting. The number of schools closed in these regions reached over 13,250 schools, impacting an estimated 2.5 million children. And roughly around June 2023 alone, that period alone, there were about 7,800 primary schools that were closed, either destroyed, or they had become military centers, or they had become rescue centers. And again, almost 1.4 million children in the Sahel region in particular were out of school. We don't know when they will get back to school. The Israel-Gaza conflict and the war in Ukraine are garnering more attention than the conflicts in the Africa continent. While the peace and security situation in our continent is of great concern as well. We have conflicts in the Horn, Great Lakes, Sahel, and the West African regions. These conflicts have affected millions of people, including children, women, and the elderly. And according to statistics, over 15 African countries have been in conflict in the recent past, and this has resulted in the displacement of over 40 million people. Your Excellencies, how can leaders of this great continent of Africa reconcile the world's spotlight on the distant conflicts with the stark reality that our own people suffer in silence? Their plight is relegated to the periphery of global consciousness. The challenges that face us are not merely of conflict resolution, but of moral imperative. The adverse impact of these insecurities cannot go unnoticed. We should all commit to promoting a shared vision for peace and security for holistic and sustainable development of our continent. There's an urgent need for our continent to strike a balance between global solidarity and the dire need to prioritize continental cooperation towards peace, security, and development in Africa. Therefore, although acknowledging the interconnectedness of conflicts and crises globally and regionally, I also implore all of us to note that in the shadow of global conflicts, let us not forget the silent suffering of our own people in Africa. Solidarity and unity will guarantee peace and security for the much-needed trade and economic development of the continent. Your Excellencies, as you are aware, the position of the Chair of the African Union Commission will take place, the election will take place in February 2025. This is an opportunity for the Eastern Africa region. Kenya has an interest, given her pivotal role in enhancing and sustaining the Pan-African agenda. Stakeholder engagement processes across governments is ongoing, and the formal process will follow. You may also be aware that Kenya took over the leadership of the African Union Champion for Institutional Reforms from Kagame. We hope to work with all as we try to achieve Agenda 2063. And in this respect, we will be humbly coming to you soon to seek your support and the support of your countries. As you know, His Excellency President Ruto is championing the World Bank International Development Association IDA 21 replenishment with the key proposed reforms. Kenya will host in the month of April 2024 the IDA 21 meeting that promises to be a pivotal platform of transformative discussions on a global scale, including building innovative global financing approaches and architecture. This is an opportunity for us to speak with one voice and galvanize support. As you all know, the IDA 21 is the concessionary window of the World Bank. This initiative has been held in Dakar before. It has held in Abidjan before. And the biggest recipient of IDA funds are actually in Africa from the World Bank. So we need to galvanize so that international resource mobilization can succeed, so that countries that require these resources most for critical interventions in their respective domains can be raised for us to be able to move forward. In the same vein, let me also again remind you that we shall also be hosting on behalf of the AU the Africa Fertilizer Summit in Nairobi. This again, we require your support, your intervention. We'd be happy to have the best of your minds and expertise coming from your countries to help us in this particular area, because production and the issue of food insecurity that we have just talked about, the proper utilization of fertilizer is going to be very critical. Once again, I appeal to you to support us and to support Africa on this particular cause. Your Excellencies, by facilitating contact and dialogue between our people, you all play a bridging role between your sending state and receiving state. You might think of yourselves not only as a diplomat accredited to this country, but also as a diplomat representing Kenya, in the sense that your job is to forge a stronger friendship between Kenya and your respective countries. I have confidence that you will continue to be tireless in your efforts. We as a ministry are ready to support you always. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for attending this meeting. Asanteni sana, merci beaucoup, shukran jazilan, and thank you.